Back on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk KFYO. Thank you for tuning in today. Joining us this morning once again, always a pleasure to visit with our next guest, former White House physician, current candidate in the Republican primary runoff in Texas 13, Dr. Ronny Jackson, joining us once again here on the Chad Hasty Show. Dr. Jackson, good morning. How are you today?
Thank you, Chad. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Good to have you. Okay, before we get into some campaign stuff, I've got to ask you, because the media is absolutely going nuts and crazy. They act like the president breaks into medical cabinets and just starts taking whatever pills that he wants to. When it comes to hydroxychloroquine and the White House physicians and their discussions with the president, is the president like raiding the medicine cabinet, or is he listening to doctors?
No, he is not raiding the medicine cabinets. I was up there at the White House. I spent 2 days up in D.C. Early this week, and I was up there Monday when he made this announcement to the press, and I visited at length with his physician, the guy that took my place a few months ago, and we discussed this at length. He is absolutely, positively doing this in conjunction with his physician. And not only that, Chad, his physician obviously talked to multiple experts all over the country about the pros and cons of this before they did it. So this is really well thought out, and it's the right thing to do for our president, to protect his health. Okay, so
let's say you're a regular citizen out there. Right. Should you be consulting with your own doctors about this, or is this just, he's the president of the United States, he talks to a lot of people meet with him, he is maybe at more risk than the average person?
Well, he is at more risk too, and I think if folks want to talk to their physicians about that, they can do that, the truth is that lots and lots of folks all over the country are already taking this as a prophylactic drug. There are multiple emergency medicine docs and first responders in the New York area and elsewhere where there were hot spots. They were taking this before their shift every day, to make sure that they didn't end up getting this. So the concept of taking this as a prophylactic drug is not new. It's been going on for months now, and it's being used as an off-label indication because it's not an FDA approved for this indication, but it is an FDA approved drug that has an incredible human safety profile. But I think that you got to look at the big picture here. If you're okay with the President of the United States, which most of us are, I would submit to everyone is, being shuttled around in an armored vehicle, right, in an armored limousine, surrounded by multiple Secret Service agents with weapons and flying around in a secure aircraft, then you should be okay with the President of the United States taking this drug prophylactically based on the fact that he's had a couple of recent exposures in the White House. This is just another way that we go above and beyond to protect our commander-in-chief, our head of state, and the leader of the free world. And so I think it's the right thing to do. I don't think it applies to every citizen out there. I don't think it would apply to me, but I think that this is the President of the United States. They're doing everything they can above and beyond to make sure that he's safe and that he can lead us out of this economic crisis that we're in right now, which I think that he's the only one that can do this right now.
Visiting with Dr. Ronny Jackson here on the Chad Hasty Show. Dr. Jackson, I have to say, I don't think CNN are big fans of yours right now. They had a recent article in which they said that you are embracing the right-wing conspiracy promoted by the president, that then President Barack Obama spied on the Trump campaign. How would you react to that?
Look, Chad, I, like all Americans, am concerned about what's going on. And as each day goes by and more stuff is exposed, I'm more and more concerned about what's going on. But I'll tell you, during the 8 years of the Obama administration, what happened was our entire executive branch of government was populated with political appointees and career employees that had an agenda. Their agenda was to get rid of President Trump. And they had no qualms whatsoever about using the power and the authority of their office to make that happen. They were super upset that Hillary Clinton didn't become president and that Donald Trump did. And they've gone out of their way now, even before he was sworn in, to tear him down. And I know firsthand, I was the victim of part of that. You know what I mean? There are all these people in all the departments, executive branch of government, regardless where they're at, that have an agenda. And they thought that, they had top cover because initially they thought Hillary Clinton was going to get elected. But, it's coming to light now. And we're seeing that a lot of things happened that are very un-American and very reminiscent of the kind of stuff that goes on in communist countries like Russia and China, where they either have communism or a full-blown, dictator type governments. And we just can't stand for this. This is something we have to fix. We have to find out who these folks were, what they were doing, and then they need to be held accountable. And I honestly think that there's going to be some folks that need to go to jail.
Visiting with Dr. Jackson here on the Chad Hasty Show. Let's say that you are that you win the primary, that you go on, you win the election, you go to Washington D.C. Is that something you're going to be pushing for? Is continued investigations and people maybe going to jail?
Absolutely. We need accountability on this. I mean, we cannot let this go. We had folks from inside our government that were appointees and employees, not even elected officials, that took it upon themselves to try to change the will of the people. The president was elected by the people. And as soon as he got in, even before he got in, there was a massive effort underway to undermine the will of the people. And we can't do this. It's not a democracy if we let this stand. So we have to do this to protect our democracy and protect our Constitution. We don't have an option.
Dr. Jackson, your opponent has received a couple of endorsements lately. Of course, you've been endorsed by the President of the United States. And I bring up your opponent's endorsements because they are two sort of related to Lubbock, with Senator Charles Perry and also the former Texas Tech Chancellor, Robert Duncan. What are they missing in you? Why do you think they endorsed your opponent over your campaign?
Well, it's all about relationships. They're not missing anything about me because they're not really interested about me or anything about me. Those endorsements are coming strictly from Max Thornberry, from Congressman Max Thornberry. Congressman Thornberry has backed my opponent. He has a long-standing relationship with my opponent as a lobbyist for the Cattle Feeders Association. Congressman Thornberry here in the very near future will be a lobbyist for the defense industry. You can mark my word on that. That's what's going to happen. And if Mr. Weingarten ends up as the representative for the 13th Congressional District, that basically allows Mr. Thornberry to keep his seat in Congress. And that's really what this is all about. And so those are folks that have relationships with Congressman Thornberry, and they're backing my opponent as a favor to him. I'm sure that's what's going on. And they don't know much about Ronny Jackson. They're not interested in learning about Ronny Jackson. I would point out to you that people should look at some of the other endorsements that are coming out, too. He's being endorsed by Will Hurd, who's, for all practical purposes, not even a Republican. This guy has a voting record. He votes with the president 50 to 52% of the time. There are middle-of-the-road Democrats that support our president more than that. This guy has run around with Beto, and he's been for open borders. And it's amazing the kind of endorsements that are coming out of the woodwork on my opponent's behalf. But we'll see where this all leads. The voters will look at this and look at the big picture, and they'll see what each of us have to offer. And I'm honestly trying to focus on what I have to offer to the district and not focus on my opponent. And, it would be nice if my opponent would do the same thing, if he would just talk to the folks in the district about what he could do for the district and stop focusing on negative issues involving me. We'll see where this goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we'll visit with you again soon. Dr. Ronny Jackson, a Republican candidate for Texas 13, also former White House physician. It's always a pleasure to visit with you, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Chad. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That's Dr. Ronny Jackson here on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk KFYO.